I was a high priestess in the coven of the Red Moon for 27 years. A woman who didn't just believe in the shadows, but commanded them to move at my whim. For nearly 3 decades, my life was measured in blood rites, atmospheric shifts, and the systematic dismantling of human destinies. I was trained by entities that most people think are just myths or movie monsters. But I can tell you from the scars on my soul and the things I have seen in the second heaven that the darkness is far more organized and legalistic than the average person can fathom. I didn't just serve, I was an architect of ruin. I was taught how to monitor families for generations, how to identify the cracks in a person's spiritual hedge, and how to wait for the specific celestial and calendar alignments that allow us to strike with maximum efficiency. We weren't just chaotic. We were cold, calculated, and deeply aware of the times and seasons. The kingdom of darkness operates on a clock that most of the world ignores, and that ignorance is the primary weapon used against you. I am coming forward now because the veil is thin, and there is a specific date that was always highlighted in red on our ritual calendars, January 15th. In the circles I once walked, we called this the threshold of the divided road. It is not just another day in the first month of the year. It is a decision, portal, a moment in the spiritual atmosphere where the legalities of your entire year are codified and locked into place. You must understand the mechanics of how this works. The spirit realm does not operate on emotion. It operates on legal access. Just as a lawyer uses the law to seize property, we use spiritual laws to seize lives. Portals are not just locations, they are moments in time where the physical and spiritual worlds overlap more densely than usual. January 15 represents the midpoint of the first month, a period of transition where the newness of the year begins to harden into a permanent reality. In the coven, we knew that by the 15th day, most people's resolutions had failed. Their spiritual guard was down, and they were beginning to settle into the old patterns of the previous year. This creates a vacuum. We were trained to fill that vacuum of specific assignments. While you are sleeping or worrying about your bills, there are councils of darkness that meet to decide which gates will be opened over your household. They wait for this date because it is the day the spiritual cement begins to dry. If they can plant a seed of discord, sickness, or financial ruin by midnight on January 15th, that seed is legally allowed to grow for the rest of the 12-month cycle because you unwittingly gave it residency through your silence or your compromise. I remember a specific assignment I was given involving a man named David, a dedicated believer who was a pillar in his community. He was untouchable for most of the year because his prayer life was a literal wall of fire. But we didn't attack his faith, we attacked his timing. We waited until the mid-January portal. We knew he was exhausted from the holiday season and distracted by a new business venture. On the night of January 14th leading into the 15th, we performed a rite of atmospheric heaviness. We didn't send a demon of lust or anger. We sent a spirit of slumber and procrastination. David woke up on the 15th feeling uncharacteristically tired. He skipped his morning prayer. He snapped at his wife over something trivial, a small legal breach. That night, instead of closing the day in gratitude, he fell asleep in front of the television, leaving his spirit unguarded. 'Cause he didn't claim the day or seal his gates on that specific portal date, we were able to project a sickness into his body that manifested as a chronic, undiagnosable fatigue. By March, by July, his business failed because he no longer had the spiritual sight to lead. It, it all started because he ignored the significance of that mid-January threshold. He thought it was just a Tuesday. We knew it was the day we could gain a foothold for the entire year. There was another case, a woman named Sarah, who was moving into a season of incredible promotion. We saw the light around her destiny increasing, and it terrified the hierarchy. We couldn't stop the promotion, so we decided to pollute the portal of January 15th. We used a technique called the mirror of offense. We orchestrated a situation where an old friend reached out to her on that day and reopened a wound from 10 years prior. Sarah spent the entire day of January 15 dwelling on bitterness, replaying the trauma, and speaking words of self-pity. She didn't realize that by doing this on a portal date, she was signing a spiritual contract. She was essentially saying to the spirit realm, I choose the past over the future. The word she spoke that day became a ceiling over her life. Even though she got the promotion at work, she spent the rest of the year in a state of emotional torment and isolation because she had legally invited the spirit of bitterness to sit on the throne of her year during the decision portal. We laughed in the coven because it was so easy. You provide the legal ground and we simply occupy it. I am looking at you right now through this screen, and I need you to listen with your spirit, not just your ears. Some of You have been feeling a strange, unexplained pressure since the clock struck midnight on January 1st. You've noticed a sudden return of old habits you thought you had conquered. You might be experiencing sudden bouts of dizziness, a ringing in your ears that doctors can't explain, or a sense of fog that makes it hard to focus on your purpose. Perhaps your sleep has been disturbed between the hours of 2 a.m. and 4 a.m., tongue to wag with gossip or self-criticism. Do not make major financial commitments out of fear. Most importantly, do not be spiritually passive. This is the day you must audit your life. Look at the patterns that are trying to remerge and cut them off at the root. If you see a shadow of the old year trying to creep in, you must realize it is an illegal squatter trying to get its name on the list for 2026. This is the day you must be intentional about your alignment. You are either aligning with the light that brings life, or you are leaving the door unlocked for the thief who only comes to steal, kill, and destroy. If you want to close the portal to the darkness and secure your year, you must take a stand. Do not spend January 15 in a state of spiritual slumber. Wake up with a declaration on your lips. Cleanse your home literally and spiritually. Get rid of anything in your house that has a connection to the occult or past traumas. Do not consult with the shadows. Stop looking at horoscopes. Stop seeking vibe readings and stop playing with the tools of the very kingdom that wants to see you erased. Instead, set your face like a flint. This is the day you decide who governs your atmosphere. If you feel the weight of the enemy's probes, if you feel that heaviness in your chest, it is time to use the authority you have been given. Authority that I once feared when I was on the other side. A truly surrendered soul is the only thing that can shatter a portal. I want to lead you in a declaration of closure right now. Speak these words aloud for the spirit realm. Response to the vibration of a voice aligned with truth. I renounce every contract I have unwittingly signed with the darkness. I cancel every assignment of the covenant against my name, my family, and my destiny for this year. I declare that the portal of January 15 is close to the thief and open only to the blessings of the Most High. I break the power of the mid-month trap and refuse to carry the baggage of the past into the heart of this year. I command every monitoring spirit to be blinded and every tether to the altars of my ancestors to be severed by the fire of the living God. I claim my January, my February, and every month following as territory belonging to the kingdom of light. I am no longer a victim of the times and seasons. I am a governor of my atmosphere. I seal my gates. I seal my mind and I seal my home. The enemy has no legal access here. It is finished. Now I want you to go into the rest of this month with your head held high. Do not look back. The portal is closing and you must be on the side of the light when it does. If you found this revelation helpful, I can show you how to identify the hidden altars in your own home that may be feeding the enemy's access. Would you like me to explain how to conduct a spiritual audit of your living space to ensure no lingering shadows remain? I know what it's like to sit in the darkness and watch the world move in total ignorance of the war being waged over their very breath. You have no idea how much the kingdom I once served relies on your belief that it's just a bad day or it's just a coincidence. We thrived on your rationalizations. We loved it when you called a spiritual attack burnout or stress. It meant we could keep digging the trenches deeper without you ever picking up a shovel to fill them in. January 15th is the day we would cement those trenches. I remember sitting in a ritual chamber beneath a nondescript building in a major city, surrounded by men and women you would recognize on the evening news, people of influence, people of power. And we weren't talking about politics. We were talking about the frequency of the 15th. We knew that if we could get the collective consciousness of a city to shift into anxiety on that specific day, we could feed off that energy for the next 6 months. It's like a spiritual battery that gets charged by your fear. When I tell you this date I portal, I am telling you it is a window where the laws of the spirit allow for a recoding of your reality. In the coven we had files on families going back 4 generations. We knew which ancestors had made deals, which ones had opened doors through trauma, and which ones had left unclaimed territory in their bloodline. On January 15, we would use those old legal claims to launch new attacks. Think about the mechanics of a doorway. A door isn't just a piece of wood. It's a transition point between two environments. If you leave your front door open in the middle of a winter storm, the outside environment will eventually become your inside environment. That is exactly what happens on this day. The spiritual atmosphere of the world, which is currently thick with confusion, division, and a very specific type of heavy localized despair, is trying to blow into your private life. If you don't shut the door on the 15th, you are essentially telling the spirit realm that you are okay with the weather of the world becoming the weather of your home. I've seen what happens when that door stays open. I saw a young couple, vibrant and full of vision, who was slated for a massive breakthrough in their ministry. We couldn't touch their spirit, so we went for their timing. On January 15th, we sent a spirit of financial panic. It started with a simple, unexpected bill that arrived in the mail, a mistake by the bank, actually. But instead of praying, they began to argue. They began to accuse one another. They spent the entire day in a state of lack mentality. That one day of alignment with the spirit of lack created a legal hook in their finances for the rest of the year. Every time they got close to a breakthrough, that hook would pull them back. They never connected it to that one Tuesday in January. They thought they were just having a rough year. They didn't realize they had authorized that rough year by their response during the portal. You have to understand that the kingdom of darkness is terrified of your awareness. The moment you realize that you aren't just a victim of circumstances, but a participant in a spiritual legal system, our power over you begins to evaporate. I spent years perfecting the art of subtle displacement. This is where we don't try to destroy you all at once. We just shift you 1 degree, of course. If you shift 1 degree in January, by June you are miles away from your destination. January 15 is the day that 1 degree is set. If you are feeling a strange urge to walk away from your purpose, or if you feel a sudden cold indifference toward the things of the Spirit, you are being displaced. You are being nudged. The entities I once commanded are experts at making their whispers sound like your own thoughts. They will tell you that it's too late to change, that you've already messed up the year, or that everyone else is struggling. So why should I be different? That is the language of the portal. It is the sound of the door being propped open with a wedge of lies. I remember a man who was a gatekeeper in his city, a man of deep prayer who didn't know his own strength. We tried everything to take him out. We sent sickness, we sent scandal, we sent betrayal. Nothing worked because he stayed in the light. But on January 15, we shifted our strategy. We decided to give him good distractions. We made him so busy with good work that he neglected the God work. He spent the entire portal day running from meeting to meeting, feeling productive, feeling important, but he never once stopped to govern his own spirit. He left his gates unmanned, By the time the sun set on that day, we had successfully planted tears in his field, subtle seeds of pride and self reliance. By the time harvest season came, his ministry was hollow. He had the form of power, but no substance. It all started with a busy January 15th. The enemy doesn't always come with a pitchfork. Sometimes he comes with a calendar full of appointments. Listen to me because my time to speak these truths is limited. The weights are shifting as someone who once moved in the highest echelons of the demonic hierarchy. I can tell you that there is a deep clock ticking. We are entering a window where the consequences of our spiritual choices are manifesting faster than ever before. In the past, you might have had months to repent or course correct. Now, the turnaround is almost instant. What you seed on January 15 will likely bloom by February. This is why the urgency is so high. This is why the pressure you feel in your spirit is so intense. It's not your imagination. It's the atmosphere reacting to the opening of the portal. The darkness is trying to lock in the tragedies of 2026 before the month is even over. They want to preschedule your tears, your hospital visits, and your heartbreaks. They're drafting the scripts for your failures right now, waiting for you to sign them with your silence. I am telling you this because I can still hear the echoes of the rituals. I can still see the faces of those who are currently fasting and praying to the wrong side, begging for your downfall. They don't take breaks. They don't have off days. They're waiting for the clock to strike midnight on the 15th so they can release the dogs of war into the lives of the unsuspecting. But you are no longer unsuspecting. You are hearing the voice of someone who sat at the table with the enemy and escaped. I saw the blueprints. I saw how much they fear a person who understands the power of the first fruits of their time. If you give the 15th to the light, if you stand as a century over your own life and say no further, you break the cycle of generations. You literally rewrite the legal code of your bloodline. You can stop a divorce that was scheduled for October by what you do on January 15th. You can cancel a bankruptcy that was planned for August by how you govern your heart today. The weight of this moment is staggering. I feel a holy trembling as I speak this because I know the cost of the information I am giving you. There are things I'm revealing that are considered high treason in the kingdom I left behind. But I don't care about the threats anymore. I care about the fact that you are standing on the edge of a precipice and you don't even know it. You are deciding right now whether you will be a master or a slave to the coming months. There is no middle ground. There is no neutral on a portal day. You are either closing the door or you're inviting the guest. The shadows are long and the night is coming where no man can work. You must be the one to draw the line in the sand. Do not let this revelation fall on deaf ears. Do not treat this like another piece of content to consume and forget. This is a lifeline thrown from the belly of the beast. I am telling you what they never wanted you to know. You have the keys. You've always had the keys. You just didn't know where the locks were. The lock is January 15th. Turn the key. This is a final warning. The timing is divine and the window is closing. If you feel that pull in your gut, that conviction that says, this is for me, do not ignore it. That is your spirit recognizing the truth. We are in a season where the sleepers are being separated from the watchers. Which one are you? If you are a watcher, then you have a responsibility. You cannot see the sword coming and not blow the trumpet. There are people in your life, friends, family, co-workers who are walking straight into the trap of the 15. They are making plans. They are venting their frustrations. They are opening their gates wide for the predator, and they have no idea. You must wake them up. This message isn't just for your protection. It's for the protection of the remnant. Share this revelation with the urgency of someone pulling a child out of a burning building. Because in the spirit realm, that is exactly what you are doing. The flame licking at the door of the year, and only the truth can extinguish it. I am standing here as a witness, a brand plucked from the burning, telling you that the light is stronger, but the darkness is legalistic. Use the law of the Spirit to your advantage. I want you to make a mark right now. I want you to go to the comments and write a short, bold declaration of your faith and your intent for this year. Something like, my gates are closed to the enemy, or I claim 2026 for the light. There is power in the written word. It is a spiritual contract. When you type those words, you are filing a countersuit in the courts of heaven. You are saying to every watching entity, I see you and I revoke your access. And if you want to stay positioned in this place of revelation, if you want to continue to hear the secrets that the enemy tries to hide, then stay connected. This is not the last thing I have to tell you. The war is just beginning, and you need to be armed with the intelligence of the former high priestess who now serves the King of Kings. Subscribe, follow, and keep your lamps trimmed. The portal is opening. Choose your side. Choose it now. Choose carefully. For your life and the lives of those you love truly depend on it. I have spoken. The rest is up to you. I release this into the atmosphere and I seal it in the name that is above every name. Amen.